the Princess Wave?
I'd give you the bird if they weren't kids.
It's not common anymore, right?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing this evening?
Great.
Great. So tonight we have a public transportation meeting with Scott Brauner. So at this moment, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Brauner.
No, it's Scott, our Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott.
It's okay, Rick.
It's Scott Chapman. I'm sorry. I see Scott and I see Mr. Brauner sitting right that was it.
So this is just the 6-year transportation improvement program. So we have to update once a year. I'm not sure why that makes sense to me, but, the city is required by Washington State Department of Transportation, and that's about all it is. You guys have to approve.
Not up yet.
Any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Erin Chestnut, and I am a Morton resident, and I can give more information,
We could give you more information. What would you like?
like details about, what it is we're asking approval for, other than just the name of the like.
Right. So we have to pick, projects, mostly roads and utilities. And the state wants a 6-year, we got out, looked out 6 years supposedly. And then they approve it or not. We could change that list at any time. If they okay it, obviously, but, if you want even more details, you can come to the city hall and we can give you a list, or whatever you need.
So basically, Scott, they're just looking at a 6-year scope of what our plans are as far as.
So what we think we need done,
Right. So improved.
and yeah, hopefully all approved.
And these are the projected ones.
Yes.
So, if that helps you, Brigham Drive, First Street to Kittle Way, deteriorated roadways, replace water main. Strong Field, the runway reconstruction to get the 911 cars over there. Justin Drive, 4th to 2nd, reconstruction of deteriorated roadway, replace water and sewer main. You want all of them? I'm happy.
No, I was just looking for more context, that's helpful.
Oh, okay.
Just because I didn't know what the scale or scope was. Thank you.
Anybody else like to make any comments? Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and get to our regular council meeting. We'll start out with the pledge of allegiance, please. Please remove your hat and turn off your cell phone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So number 2 under regular council meeting is consent of agenda minutes of April 27th, 2026, vouchers and EFTs.
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda in the minutes of April 27th,
I'll second it.
26.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3 under regular council meeting. Oh, before we get to number 3, we have an amendment on our agenda tonight. I'm gonna remove Gabriel and I'm gonna add Adam Okay. How are you this morning, or this evening?
Yeah, no problem.
Wait, not yet.
Oh, go sit down.
Sit down here.
I'll go sit down, sorry.
Council has to approve the amendment. We also have to excuse commencement.
I approve. Do I make a motion to
Yes.
approve it? I motion we approve the change.
Second, third. Aye.
And then we have to excuse Gabriel, Phrase?
No, we need to excuse Jason Knudsen.
I didn't even realize he wasn't here. So yeah, I guess we need to excuse Jason Knudsen for this evening's meeting. So obviously, we still have enough to make a meeting.
Make a motion to excuse Jason Knudsen.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So number 3 then, on a regular council meeting is public comment, items on agenda only. Anybody would like anything to say? With that being said, I'm gonna move forward. Number 4, new business, resolution number 559 regarding transportation improvement plan.
We just motion to accept the new plan.
I have a question.
Sir,
We don't have funds for this, right? This is just something we have to do. This is paperwork, right?
as far as I'm aware of, I mean,
Yes.
it is something that we must, improve.
Yeah. We supposed to tell them what, we would, in a perfect world, we'd love to have, kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Just a scope of an outlook of basically a wish list that we would like to accomplish.
Just to make that clear. And that's my only question.
Okay. So moving on,
Well,
we gotta vote on this.
Yeah.
Make a motion, you motion to accept it, I'll second it. Maria.
all in favor?
Aye.
So number 3 is Megan Peterson.
No, two, now Adam can stand up.
Oh,
Here.
boy, I am all for this meeting.
My fault, I screwed up the order of things. So first of all, thank you, Mayor Reed and council members for just a quick opportunity to talk about Girls Build and what we're doing here. My name is Aaron Fouquet, I'm the Callis plant manager, Callis Division plant manager. So in short, I oversee both sawmills in Morton and Randall. Hampton was offered a unique opportunity to sponsor Girls Build this year in Morton. So what is Girls Build, you're probably wondering? Girls Build is a nonprofit organization based out of Portland serving girls only, ages 8 to 15 years old. There's 37 campers already registered to attend this year's camp in Morton. Just for reference, Portland has 2 camps and have never gotten more than 35. So in a short amount of time, we've surpassed the great metropolitan area of Portland, Oregon. So we're pretty proud of that. Girls Build teaches young, again, 8 to 15-year-olds how to run in the trade. So it's not just the Mitel, plastic hammer and nail maybe the kids got when they were young, but it's actually real life scenarios with real building and working in the trade. So they're not going to be just using the plastic hammer, they're going to be using the steel hammer. They're going to be using band saws and sawzalls and skill saws and cutoff saws and everything in between. And they'll do electrical work, they'll do blacksmithing, they'll do a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just kind of an introduction into the trades. Little known fact, in the United States, females make up less than 4% of the trades in the workforce. Well, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, but trades are definitely vastly needed, not only in our area, but throughout North America. So we see that there's a great opportunity, and I can speak for myself. I started in the mill of maintenance. I traded myself as a millwright and worked through and eventually to here, but we are constantly looking for the next best electrician, next best millwright, the next best controls technician, AI inventions and all those sort of things. So there's a huge demand, not just in our local economy here, but nationwide.
Girls Build, since its inception in 2016, has served over 5,000 girls. Let me see, the camp begins here in Morton June 22nd, is gonna run through the 26th. We will be utilizing the Bob Lyle. I worked with Luann a few weeks ago. Our plan is to utilize the Bob Lyle community center, which we're in the open area as well as the covered area and part of the campground here. Our plan is to build an open air, if you were an open design playhouse that will donate upon completion at the end of the week. This playhouse will be open air with great big windows, so you can see in, thus not inviting any nefarious activity. So it's something I'm pretty proud of. I think it's an opportunity that Morton doesn't often get. A lot of times these kind of things end up in Seattle, they end up in Longview, they end up in some brighter shit. So this year it's coming to Morton. We did a site visit here a few weeks ago with the CEO of Girls Build, and we looked here, we went up to the Jubilee Park, we looked at the school. Of course, there were some challenges with construction going on there as well. And so this would be a great place, and they just started talking, and it seems like an opportunity. They were already saying, hey, we can do it bigger and better next year. So this year we've kind of been low key, kind of see how it goes, get our feet wet, and it's something we're hoping to get every year, if not at least every few years. So I tried to get the one page to Luann. Unfortunately, it's camp season, so Girls Build is running the camp, I believe, in Grants Pass, Oregon this week, so they're kind of hard to get a hold of. I didn't get these to you in time, so my apologies. I will leave them here. I just want to say thank you, and I think it's a great opportunity to introduce girls to the trades. It's a underserved part of our economy and our demographics here, so I think it's a good thing, and I'm excited for it. Any questions I could answer for you? Pardon me?
The donation of the building.
Oh, we would love to request a donation of the use of the facilities. We're prepared if that donation is not accepted, but we would, again, as a nonprofit. Hampton is a signature sponsor, so we're already footing a significant portion of the bill. The campers will be provided hot lunch as well as hot breakfast each day, and it's a full day. So.
Are there girls, young people from our area that are attending the camp?
Yeah, actually, I haven't seen the whole list. I only got a few, and I've talked to several people that I know. My own granddaughter is going. I believe someone that works for the city's granddaughter is going. Yeah, for sure. The unique thing is it's Girls Build, so it's girls only are campers. However, it's also instructed by girls, and some of them, half of the staff were at one time campers themselves. So they went through this sometime between now and 2016. Loved it so much that they became instructors themselves. So I was really excited when I met with them. Was kind of hoping to be a part of it a little more. And they kind of said, hey, don't forget it's Girls Build. So I get to do all this kind of stuff as my contribution. So again, really excited for it. Would appreciate it if you guys could donate. Understand if the finances don't work, we're gonna ready to proceed anyway. But appreciate some time.
What kind of supervision will there be?
Again, the instructors, they passed background checks. We're going to one of our workers from the mill, we're gonna pay her normal wage. Her name's Katrina Peterson. I'm sorry.
Local?
But, pardon?
Local.
Yep, a local Morton graduate, Katrina Barnes now.
Barnes, I was gonna correct that.
Yeah, I remember as Peterson Barnes now, but, so she's going to be also one of the instructors, so everyone's passed thorough background instruction, background checks, I should say, and received, their certifications through that. They're also trained certified to train on the safety side, of course, because these girls will be using power tools, real actual saw-driven power tools, so they're certified trainers as well. They carry their own insurance, they're self-contained, they'll be bringing their own cook. They've hired, I think the local fast track sanitary, so they're running most of this stuff, and we're just really acting as a support role and saying, hey, what do you need, how can we help? We're pretty passionate about the program, and we're excited for your support as well.
This is a day camp?
This is the day camp, yeah. I haven't seen the agenda, but I think it starts somewhere around 8 in the morning and ends around 4:30 every day, Monday through Friday.
Well, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did, just so, I'm kind of gonna note here, was there gonna be like extra people camping in here in our area, like right here at the park?
We don't anticipate extra campers coming in, no, from what we've seen, everything is just local.
I was just gonna say, and feel free to reach out to me if that's the case, I'd be happy to make sure that they've got some extra patrols if we do have a big group of kids
Yeah, extra patrols.
camping for their safety.
Yeah, extra patrols would certainly be appreciated, just, I don't know exactly what the plan is with the power tools, I mean, I'm sure we're not gonna leave them outside, but, you know, it would not hurt to just make an extra pass through once in a while.
Sure.
Is it a sign up over, or can we encourage some local gals to maybe sign up?
Yeah, I checked just today, actually, right before I came up here to see, I can tell you that 37 of the 40 spots were filled, however, they are still accepting, so I think there's probably 3 spots or 2.
What were you looking for in terms of a donation?
Just the use of the facilities, really, and then we do have
This particular facility?
yeah, and then as well as the covered area and some of the tent camping, because we don't want, obviously, we can't have people just meandering in for security purposes. So we wanna contain it. Our plan is just to put some tape or, you know, caution tape or yellow fencing around the area. So we're requesting the use of the multi-purpose area here, the covered building, a section of the playground, which is where we like to build and leave the playhouse. And we understand there's camping, Luann and I spoke a few weeks ago, you know, we said, hey, we understand that we're gonna take up some tent camp spots, if we need to rent those, we're certainly prepared to, but my experience, I live here myself, is that normally during the work week, even in the summer, the campground isn't usually too full.
I myself, I'd like to be part of this.
Great.
Another girl.
I know.
We'd love to have you, Mayor, however, just know it's gonna be on the outside looking in for you.
Okay.
Just like me, but I will definitely reach out for sure. Yeah, there's lots to do between now and then.
I think it's a great thing. I very much appreciate you and what you guys do.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Pat, are you going to be maintaining the cool thing that you build, or
Well,
are we in charge of it?
I think at that point, we would kind of hand it off to the city, it's a donation, however, I would like to think that some of the girls that built this thing would have some pride, I know several of them, it's like, hey, the playhouse is looking a little, dilapidated, let's get up there and put some paint on it, or replace the board, or whatever. That's really the skill they're learning to use, so, I think it's just neat to, you know, think about that 13 or 14-year-old girl that's playing at the river in the summer, and then watch them, says, yeah, I helped build that. I think that's a pretty neat opportunity.
It's a confidence builder.
Yeah.
Self-esteem.
Yeah, and, you know, we like to teach these young people to be a little more self-reliant and, you know, wider and outlet.
It's enclosed, right? Like, can you access the structure or no?
Yeah, the structure will be open, so, I mean, it's meant to be utilized, however, it's open with like, so you can have good angles of sight, good line of sight. We don't want anything with walls and stuff that would be like, hey, what's going on in there, right?
Understood.
Yeah, so it's an open design, but definitely accessible.
Very cool.
Okay, any other questions? If I may, I'll just leave this here and feel free, if you'd like more information, you can check out girlsbuild.org. And there's also a link on, since we're a signature sponsor, at hamptonlumber.com. So I would recommend girlsbuild.org if you're looking for that, more information.
What was your name again?
My name is Aaron Poquette, that's Aaron, P as in Paul, Oquette.
Girls Build?
Girlsbuild.org.
So these dates don't coincide with anything else going on right now?
No.
Alright. So, need to vote on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, make a motion to, grant the access to this building and donate the, building for the, girls' build.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Appreciate it, thank you all.
Appreciate you. That's good stuff. So number 3 on new business is Megan Peterson, RCO YAF grant.
I wish I was 15 or under. So I've been here before and presented the idea of Morton Skate Park from Morton Action Sports Alliance. We formed a nonprofit, myself and a couple of other Morton residents. We started filling out our CO grants recently. The first one being the Youth Athletic Facilities Grant. It was a tireless 16 hours plus writing of this grant, took a lot of depth into it, and it's completed. But in order for them to accept the RCO grant, for it to qualify, qualify, our nonprofit would have to be 3 years old or older, or we're so new. For them to accept it, we have to ask the city of Morton to be the applicant on the grant. And as the applicant, nothing has to be done other than changing the name from Morton Action Sports Alliance to the city of Morton as the applicant. All the information stays the same. We would be requesting $600,000 for the grant itself. The grant is specifically for the build construction of the skate park. And then our Action Sports Alliance would be responsible to make the 20% match to receive the funds if the grant was awarded to us. So we spent a lot of time filling out the grant. They can't accept it and review it unless the city signs off as applicant. And then from that point, they would review it, and we would hope that we could get funds for the construction of the skate park. And meanwhile, we're filling out other grants that would pay for all the preliminary costs as far as surveys, any sort of permits that are needed, and everything that's not the construction cost, that's not coming from the state or government, because those are the ones that we qualify for. So this is just a large state government grant that would fund the construction of the skate park if we were awarded to it. So the Action Sports Alliance is asking Morton as the city to put their name on the application for it to be reviewed and possibly granted to us, essentially.
So, let's say that Morton Athletic, what is it, Mesa?
MASA, Morton Action Sports Alliance.
Okay. So let's say, because you guys are so new and you're saying that you would have to be 3 years in it, let's say your organization dissolves, who picks up the liability of everything?
I think under the dissolve, what if we dissolved? I don't have that answer exactly. I would have to look into our paperwork to see exactly how we would dissolve, but it would be split amongst the 3 of us. So if the grant was awarded because Morton is the applicant, Morton would receive that grant money, not MASA.
But then who, and you said at that point, what if your 20% match money was already in there?
We can't use any of it unless it's specifically for this grant. And so if we were awarded, if we raised 20% and we were able to award that, that 20% has to go towards the grant itself.
And then you're dissolved?
We wouldn't, I don't know if I would dissolve. Do we know what our resolution was under the dissolve between the 3 of us? I think it was like personal responsibility, but we have a Visa bank account tied to Morton Action Sports Alliance. I've just never even thought about dissolving because I'm very diehard about getting a skate park built here. I'm very founded here, and I don't want to move over again, and I would love to get a skate park in our community.
May I ask a question, Mayor?
Please.
With respect to the dissolution, are you saying like the nonprofit was dissolved somewhere between the process of applying for the grant and finishing the project? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, so would Morton be liable to finish the project if your organization dissolved as an organization?
As far as I know about dissolution, you can, as what happened with the Historical Society, you have up to 6 years to resolve the dissolution so that the continuance of business of the nonprofit can continue to flourish. So I'm pretty confident that the people who are on this board are responsible enough to take the initiative to make sure that this is seen through, saying that most of the nonprofit, or should I say the board, is dedicated to seeing this all the way through. So short answer is there's 6 years, should something like that happen, for it to go through. And should there be a dissolution, I'm sure that the money would not be awarded. So.
Do you have to come up with the money before the grant is issued? So you guys would have to get
Within
the
3
match?
years. So the 20% match would have to happen within 3 and no money would go towards any particular person except for personal funds that were entered into the nonprofit. And the nonprofit money that was raised would stay with the nonprofit. And that's in the paperwork, so that's the only thing I know as far as like dissolving goes, but
It's written into the bylaws, I think is what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what the fear is that Morton puts their name on this, then they're on the hook for that matching funds, is what it is.
Exactly.
So, there's gotta be some way for you guys to get that money together, some kind of contract between you guys and Morton, that you guys are donating
Yes.
that money. That's kind of what's in the, not in the know right now, but
Right.
that's
Which
kind
is
of.
something that I had put into the email, that if the grant was awarded to the city, at that point, the city could accept it upon contract between Morton Action Sports Alliance and the city, so that the city had no responsibility of that match, and for the city to receive that, then Morton Action Sports Alliance would be responsible for that match,
Yeah,
and able to receive it.
What happens if you have the match funds, you put them in, and you're 3/4 of the way through the project, whatever happens, you dissolve, is the city is going to be required to finish projects?
I don't know if that's stipulated in the contract, right? The city can decide to say, no, that should a situation like this happen, then, you know.
But the city is the one that signed the contract with the state.
Right.
Right, this is not, so with respect to this, the step that she's asking for, this is just an application process. So the city, this is not one guarantee that Massa or the city of Morton is going to get this. This is strictly just for the application to go through in order to apply for the money. I think that's the most important thing. Whatever is stipulated by the city being the applicant, will stand as the holy grail for moving forward.
So Bruce, in that handout, you mentioned something about having the matching funds up front.
So this is the type of grant that they don't pay any of the costs up front. They do a reimbursement, so
Right.
if the bill from for the RP study that you're gonna be able, for the cultural resources study, you're gonna be required to, comes back at $35,000, the city's required to pay that, and then you submit it to the state and wait for your reimbursement.
It has nothing to do with their matching funds being available.
I think you're talking about two different ones though, because this is just about the construction of it and not the preliminaries that you're talking about, the cultural resources part. The cultural resources part, Megan and Massa are applying for a free grant that will cover all every aspect of the preliminary part from the
But
beginning to.
This grant still requires that. Anytime you get an RCO grant, you're required to do the cultural resources survey. So it doesn't matter if you have another grant that's paying for it, it's still gonna have to be done.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, with respect to that, there is a grant that will pay for that will also have to be asked for by, the city of Morton. So the short answer to your question is, you're talking about the preliminary, steps before construction. This particular grant that she's asking for is strictly for construction.
is there a timeline of once you apply and say it gets approved, that you have to build this thing?
It's 3 years.
Okay.
You have 3 years to complete the project for which the grant is applied for.
Okay,
So this is just an application to be reviewed for the RCO grant. And for it to be accepted for review, it can't come from us because we're so brand new.
Right.
And so the city can apply for it. At which point, if the city applies for it and is awarded, then the city can then go through a contract with Massa, and we would establish, like, what do we do if anything dissolves? When are those matches gonna be made? What are the next steps? What are the preliminary costs? And I'm in the middle of the grants for the PRA grant right now. And we can also work with another nonprofit that is 3 years old or older, for any of these other RCO grants. This one in particular was due several weeks ago, and they said that they would accept the application for Youth Athletic Facilities Grant if the city of Morton was able to become the applicant, because we spent all this time on the application, and we were under the impression that we had to be, that it wasn't 3 years or older. So after putting it in, it's like we can hold on to this and essentially replicate it the next year in hand with another nonprofit, or with the city next year if we wanted to go that route.
Did you ever mention the
It
comprehensive?
would have to be 2 years for us to apply
Well, no,
for independent.
Planning.
they're on a 2-year cycle, so it would be stuck with 2 years.
Isn't it? I think they, oh, is it every two
It's
years?
yeah, ours is
Oh,
2 years.
well, that makes us more urgent.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we, like going over the Portland, or the proposed plan for parks and the outdoor stuff, there was 24 mentions of a skate park in there, and I'm very dedicated to Morton Atkins Sports Alliance and getting a skate park built here. I think filling out the youth athletic facilities grant was a great first step towards getting funding for this, and to be able to see if we have that chance or opportunity. This doesn't do anything but allow us to send the application in. So at that point, if the application was accepted, then yes, I think there's a lot of, things that we would have to discuss and put into paper that the city has no responsibility over.
So just putting the application in, say it gets approved, it doesn't lock City of Morton in anything, does it? That's just recipe.
I don't know what they require you to sign when you submit that application.
Well, the city would have to accept the grant if the grant was awarded.
Dylan, didn't you say there's a big problem if we don't accept a grant that we were given?
If we don't accept one, then the next time we apply for one, odds are they won't give it to us.
And I guess Rick's question, I didn't get the answer to. Rick, if we do sign this, are they gonna do what they normally do and follow the money, wherever the money goes, that's who's responsible? And will the city be, so if we do accept this and we go through the process and it collapses, we're gonna have those issues, okay?
Where do you plan on locating the skate park?
We want to propose that the skate park would go into the southeast end of Gus Baxter Park, behind the concrete slab where the skate park used to be, since that lease was up and that skate park was taken out. I think that big open field space back there would be a really good idea. I think the next steps from Morton Atkins Sports Alliance is we would like to host some public forum meetings, and just public meetings in general, and come to the city and request the space. We have until July 15th to enter the proposal for the space for the youth athletic facilities grant. So the grant still has one more piece that it needs, enable for that to even be awarded if it was considered, and they still have additions, there's a window where you can still add different attachments to the grant for several weeks. But the grants manager that I've been working with specifically said, at least for them to review it and get to that point, we can't submit without the city of Morton.
How big will the skate park be?
We're aiming for 8,000 to 10,000 square feet. The cost of a professionally built concrete skate park, which would have zero maintenance, they last about 40 to 60 years without any deterioration, no liability on them, and under the state, the skate at your own risk really puts the city at zero risk of a skate park. That's generally how it's done in the state of Washington. So 8,000 to 10,000 square feet is the hopes. It's about $70 to $80 per square foot of a professionally built concrete skate park. This will include the costs of adding parking and ADA compliant walkways to the bathroom.
So, assuming we have the park managers, are they going to be the ones to maintain it?
There's no maintenance for a concrete skate park. The
So if
only,
there's litter in there, just we leave it there?
well, if it's part of the park, so it would be part of Gus Baxter Park. If there was litter in the park, I guess that would just be park maintenance. I would love to volunteer Morton Atkins Sports Alliance to have a weekly cleanup and a weekly check-in. Honestly, I'm gonna be halfway living there skating it every day when we have a skate park, would be the hopes.
Are you a skater?
I am a skater. Yeah, through and through. I'm very diehard. So when you said dissolution, I was like, no, I'm skating until I die. This is my hopes and dreams. I grew up here, this is.
And then so then it down within the city, of course, if it's park, we're paying for the maintenance of it unless you volunteer.
No maintenance costs, except for trash.
And then stocking the bathrooms. What about the winter time when they're locked up so that we don't have them vandalized?
Yes.
You said ADA, whatever, for ramps for bathrooms, are you talking about bathrooms that are there?
Or you?
Yeah, so we would have to add a parking spaces and ADA compliant walkway to the restrooms, which is pretty much already included, but it would be in addition to from the surrounding part of the skate park. So if anyone was viewing the skate park, there's ADA compliant walkway to get to the restroom, the existing restroom. But I mean, I would be happy to volunteer for any sort of maintenance.
I too, what else you want to do?
So then the city supplies all the bathroom stuff, because normally they're locked up in the winter time, so that's once again another added cost.
Every city locks their bathrooms in the winter time when it gets below freezing because of waterways. Puyallup Skate Park actually has had their restrooms closed forever because of vandalizing. So it's not even required to have a restroom open at a skate park, but it is nice to have restrooms.
So you kind of see where I was coming from.
Yeah, so it wouldn't, I mean, you would have more people visiting that part of the park and using the bathrooms. But upon, any sort of vandalizing, you could easily close those bathrooms. It doesn't affect the skate park. It would just essentially tell people, I would happily volunteer to go in there and run to Costco once a month and throw some toilet paper in there and make sure, I would love to be hosting some sort of, offering sessions where people can come and clean up around the park and stuff. It'd be really great.
Are you guys gonna do any lessons for kids on how to ride a skateboard, the safeties of a skateboard?
I wanna look into, yes, I would love to do that. I wanna make sure that I have the proper, what's the word I'm looking for?
Liability?
The proper liability, the proper insurance to do that. But I have worked with there's several skate companies that teach classes around Seattle and LA that I've helped with and been a guest teacher.
Yep.
And then I helped out on the class, so it would be really awesome to
Yeah.
form those kind of programs.
And be cool for kids too. For sure.
But our first step is to hopefully submit an application for the group. And at that point, you would have to schedule with the city, what the city needs from us and what we would need from the city and what our contractual agreements would be if awarded. But for the grant to even be submitted and considered for, we would have to get approval from the city today, and they would allow us to change the name of the applicant to be reviewed tomorrow.
So there's a few things that I would like to sit down with Marissa in private to talk about that situation as far as putting Morton on the line for the liability, if something was to go south.
Is that application available so that she can read it and you can actually get that ran through so that you can get those answers?
I did attach just everything that was written in the application that was needed to be filled out, so everything about the project itself. It doesn't have anything about the liability and the contractual agreement once the grants are funded and having to finish and complete the project within 3 years. But I can sure try to capture those pages and send them over.
I think that's what's gonna need to be done here. I think you can get that and get it to the city so it can get to the attorney. Have it read, it's gone over, and we're gonna have to get that together. I know this is a time sensitive thing, but we've gotta get that paperwork so that we know that the city of Morton is not on the hook for something if something bad goes wrong here, so.
Correct, which I totally agree on.
Yeah.
See, and it's just looking and dotting and crossing, in your I's and your T's, and just make sure that everything is, it's one thing to hear it from you, it's another thing to hear it from a professional.
Yeah.
It doesn't prove it.
Were you asking about what the application entails, or are you asking more about liability and stuff?
Just all the wording that's in there.
As a whole.
It's in the agenda.
But I don't think it's all in there, the full liability of if we sign off on it, what we're liable for if this goes wrong or this happens or whatever.
Right.
That's also
It's just
not
like the first
in the
question that I came up with.
It's not in there?
It's not, the application doesn't state any of that, the application just states that the project has to be completed within 3 years for the grant to be received from the city. So the grants would only be available to the city if, under certain stipulations, if the funds are raised for it, and then once the funds are raised for it, if the city qualified for those grants, or for the award, at that point, it would have to be used within 3 years for the project.
What I'm trying to say is just like the first question that I asked you. it's something that you hadn't came across, you hadn't thought about. Also, there's things that I haven't thought about, that's why we're standing here listening to you. It is to fill our head with the idea and the dream of it all. But there is certain liabilities and legal questions that I would like to be clarified before anybody actually just said, yeah, let's do it.
Rick, can we ask Marissa what your off-the-cuff opinion is? You've looked at it a little bit, right?
From our school, they, RCO, because we don't have a location in one part of the city, our match might also be lower in a different part of the city. Mapping, if you guys change it.
It used to be 50% and it was reduced down to 20%.
There's one that's lower than it's in.
It was 10%.
Yeah.
So we have to come up with 10%. A total of 20%, 10% of which cannot come from other RCO grants.
I was more interested in your opinion on the liability part of it.
Just for submitting the application
No,
purposes.
I'm not.
Well, I think
Oh,
that
just
what
asking
it
her.
comes down to is, like they said, if we were to get this grant accepted and for some reason we declined it, moving forward in the future, if we wanted to go for something else down the road, would we get declined because we put our name on something? And I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm just trying to tell you where I think they're coming from.
I think you can revoke the application during the review process because there is still amendments you can make during a certain window while they're reviewing. So if the application was submitted, they don't award anyone until October. So there's a potential that you could revoke the application during the process. If we were able to get the application in for submission and then come up with contract, and if it felt not correct to the city, but we could pull out before the application process is completed.
And again, this is just the application, this is not saying, this is just asking the state for, this is just asking the city to sign up as an applicant. Morton hasn't gotten anything yet, that will not be awarded until October, which will give, this council and the city plenty of time to say, okay, this is where we feel comfortable, and spend some time with the city attorney to make sure that, everyone is happy about the situation moving forward. Again, just an application to receive grants, not by any means receiving any grants.
Can you tell you if the legal opinion would be required?
What was that?
Usually RCO grants require a legal opinion. They tell you if that was going to be required or not. Okay.
Most nonprofits
You'll have a
can't
chance at the end of the meeting.
Most nonprofits can't afford to get legal advice, especially small
The
ones.
city is the one that's gonna be the applicant, so they would have to provide it. It's a
There's,
requirement.
in this particular instance, yeah, the municipality would be, however, oftentimes, it is through just a nonprofit that's older than 3 years that, can also do this.
How fast can you get these questions answered for us? Do you know?
I don't know who the grant person from the state is, I'm not sure.
I can give you that.
I mean, she probably could answer a lot of the questions.
I could give you her email and
So with that being said, there's really no confidence in an actual timeline of how quick that can be done.
Yeah. How fast do we have to get this in? I mean, what are we on for timeline? What
You said
did you say?
July.
for them to accept the application, we needed to get approval from the city today, because the application was actually due 3 weeks ago. And so the application is completed and in, and everything is good, we've scanned it, it's been ran through, but for it to be accepted, it has to have the city as the application. So for them to review it and be able to give grant money or award grant money, the applicant cannot be asked. But everything, otherwise the grant is fully complete. So we have until tomorrow morning, essentially, just to get the application submitted out. But then there is a revision period once they start reviewing. So there's like a 2-week revision period after they review it and ask if there was any sort of, or any additional attachments to the grant to include. which includes the July 15th, there was one particular document as far as getting sign off from the city for the space itself. That was the one thing that has until July 15th. And then the revisions, I believe, are June 15th, once they review everything. So I think if you pulled out before, like if we got the application in and the city was now not comfortable, like after we had another meeting, about contractual agreements and legal liabilities and everything, I think that you can pull it, cause it's not awarded until October.
Right. For me, there's a lot of gray area there that it needs to be answered before we can make a decision on this within the next 24 hours.
Yeah, I know, that's understandable. Even just to have the application submitted and eligible.
You have to ask these folks. I'm just stating my opinion on it.
Yeah, that's right.
I think most of us want this to happen, but there's definitely questions here that need to be answered before it can, Morton puts their name on this. The timeline, I understand, has to be tomorrow morning, but I don't know if this person that you said, you can get us that information, if a conversation can be had tomorrow morning. We, of course, would have to get back together and vote on this right away, which I'm, totally willing to do that, if we have that information. Who would make that call to this person with that information?
Would this be an example, we talked about Rick, where maybe needs to get forward to parks and sit down with you, like Peter and I sit down with you and look at that stuff?
That would be a good idea.
Okay.
And can we make this call tomorrow?
I myself, one of you guys would have to make that call because I
We-
have prior commitments for tomorrow.
You're on the park committee, you,
Okay,
Jeff.
okay. So if we can get a little bit of time, I'm willing to come back tomorrow night if we had to and vote on this.
No, you can't quite do that.
We can't do that.
Call a special.
Well, however we're gonna do that, so, as soon as we can.
How does that work? Should the council say yes? I mean, it's gotta be another open public meeting, because we can't vote, through email, right?
Right.
How
We have
fast,
to call a special council meeting
how much time do we have to give for that?
You have to do 24 hours.
24 hours in advance.
Do you wanna make a motion to try to have a meeting in 24 hours?
Will that meet your criteria tomorrow night?
We would have to call the grant manager, who wants to plan. I can provide her.
But I mean, it definitely shows that the council is interested in pursuing this, and
We all are, like I said, there's a lot of legal things going on these days. People are really wanting to dot i's and cross t's, so I just want to cover the city's ass as far as that goes, to make sure that there is no liability. We're not signing anything that we're naive to.
Right.
I see you guys have done a lot of homework on it, so, but I myself don't wanna just take that word.
Right, yeah, I think as
Without
far
being
as like the
confident
cities.
in what we're signing.
So I think the important thing would be ask what the responsibility of the city is if awarded, and if the city didn't feel comfortable, if we could pull the grant application out so that if awarded, we wouldn't be rejecting the grant.
And if you guys are dissolved in that period of time that money came through, who finishes the project, are we online for the match money? There's a lot of different questions there. I understand where you guys are coming from, and like Peter said, this is a great thing for kids. Don't get us wrong, I'm all for it myself. But because of the controversy of what goes in our town anymore, I wanna make sure that we are totally on top of our game to make sure that everything is legal and that we cover our own to make sure that nothing comes back on the liability of the city.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Yeah,
So
I'll share.
Yeah, share that with me. I'm willing to do this first thing in the morning, make the call. I'm gonna have to talk with you and figure out what questions, make sure that, I'm getting everything asked. And then,
We'll just meet, what
can
time
we,
you wanna meet?
we'll
On you, I'm free.
yeah, we'll figure it out. So if we do that, can we make a motion to do a special council meeting tomorrow night in 24 hours to vote on this?
I am prior committed for tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
I do apologize for the short window on this.
No, I'm trying to fit it in, yeah.
Filled out and then they told us. And
I mean, because that's what we're
I
gonna
had
have to
come
ask
today.
too, is if I get the questions answered, can we have a day delay on this? Because if we go through all this and they're saying it's too late tomorrow, because we can't do it, a vote until Thursday morning, you know, whatever.
I feel
we
like
can
our
get
grant
together.
manager would be pretty lenient about a 24-hour
Okay.
thing, so, I mean, she told me I could even call her after the meeting today, so I might even be able to give her a call and let her know
And
that.
explain the situation.
Yeah, and let her know that you guys will call with questions tomorrow about liability, and, you know, if the city is comfortable, we'll say yes, in which case they would just change the name over. And if the city is not comfortable or decides that we need to write something up, would the city be able to revoke the application?
I gotta commend you, you are a great public speaker, and I can tell that you've really done your homework on this, and I can tell that it's a very big passion of yours.
Yeah, this isn't the only grant, by the way, this is just like the biggest one that we could apply for now that would like really push this project. There are other grants for youth athletic facilities, there's other state grants and funding, this just happens to be the most awarded one, and we qualify for this, and so this was one I really wanted to push for.
Sure.
So if it's possible to push for this, I think that would be really amazing. And again, it's not the only grant, and I would like to know all of the legal liabilities and paperwork that we would need to go through to make this happen, because there's other grants we're gonna be applying for.
Yeah.
They're gonna cover other costs, or if we wanted to expand, or if this grant didn't come through, we could still apply for other grants. And it would be nice to know like everything.
That we all got each other's back at that
Yeah.
point.
Exactly.
Having
That's why
each
we wanna
other's
have-
back is a very important thing in the city,
Yeah,
especially on this council and everything else.
okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got a question. Are we moving on or not?
Well, we've got a, question is, can we get together on Thursday mornings to vote on this if we need to? Can everybody do that?
If you guys wanted to meet at my store,
Can
Public
everybody
meeting
meet
at your
anywhere
store?
else?
can't do that in a public meeting, right?
Yeah, so I think, Marissa, can I make a motion as someone who's on the board to have a meeting about this, in 24 hours? Open public meeting here, or a special council meeting?
You're on the board, right? You don't have to ask
Yeah,
the board
So
itself.
there'd be a conflict of interest.
I'm gonna recuse myself from all this, I'm just wondering if, at making a motion to request the special council meeting in 24 hours is something I should recuse myself from.
I would recommend it.
With the timing of us meeting together, I mean, it can't happen tomorrow night, it would have to happen.
It would have to happen later in the evening, I have prior commitments for my store.
I'm good for whatever time, I mean, I'll come whatever time we need to tomorrow night, if everybody else can. I mean, it's not gonna be very long, it's just gonna be a vote, so, I mean, it's gonna be in and out.
I'm all good.
All right?
I guess the question really.
What time?
Yeah.
I mean, the first question is,
What time?
the first question is,
He said he
I am
couldn't
due
do
home
it.
at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
the first question is after we talk to the grant writer, are we gonna be outside the guidelines so it doesn't make any difference anyway, or are we still gonna have a shot at it, and then we could probably.
It was an ASAP thing.
Well, that's what we're gonna ask in the morning.
Meeting on the books, just in case we can't.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So at the end of the meeting, you'll be able to take the public
I thought
participation.
you weren't,
We're gonna get together and make the call.
Yep.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll get the questions,
let's just.
we'll get them answered, we'll bring them back tomorrow night, what time? I mean,
6:30.
I'm good for 6:30.
That's not-
That's not.
Oh, that's right, it's not 24 hours.
No, it gotta be 8 o'clock.
Or Thursday morning.
We'll have to post it for 8 or 9 o'clock.
So do I.
Can you do 8 o'clock tomorrow night?
Just,
Yeah, I could try to get for.
For the kids, I think, yeah.
Can you guys do 8 o'clock tomorrow night?
Yeah.
We're good.
I can do it 8 o'clock
Okay.
tomorrow night.
So-
I think you have to make a motion.
Yeah, make a motion to do a special council meeting tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, to vote on, or give the information of what I find out from this. and-
Sure.
Fantastic.
Do we have another motion?
Somebody seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get down to number 4 on new business. Jason Sawyer, City Council, committee left out of the session.
I'm just gonna I'll make this really quick. There's been some decisions, made, outside of city council meetings that, need to have city council approval. That is, existing and going forward, and I'll leave it at that.
Would you like me to read your letter, or would you like to?
I don't think that's necessary.
I do.
Part of the reason why I sent that, to the counselors, and I didn't put it in the agenda, is because I don't think that airing the laundry is,
You had no problem doing it here.
this was sent.
I would like to hear your thoughts on this.
We'd like to know what the city's done.
Yeah. What did I do that I shouldn't have done?
Okay, are you sure about this?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make a motion to appeal decision of the chair.
Then I'll read it.
You're the chair, bud, you can do what you like.
All right.
I don't know if you really want, I just wanted to know if you could elaborate on what the city's
I
done.
mean, and we can have this conversation, that's fine, I mean, if you guys wanna have it here, that's fine too. I don't know if
love
that's
to have it here.
yeah, well then read the whole thing then, not just your highlight parts.
Okay. It has come to my attention that the city council committee chair people are being left out of a decision that are supposed to be made strictly by the city council and the council only. These decisions were made by Mayor Mead, Police Chief Kinnear, former councilperson Vanderlip, with the clerk Luann present, possibly included in the decision-making process as well, about public lands. Please see the email that I forwarded prior to this email for all the details provided by the clerk. This email also contains a contract that was signed by the mayor and the existing tenant. As stated in the email by the clerk in her email to me on May 12th, 2026, the mayor, myself, police chief, and now former councilman Vanderlip, chairman of the parks at the time, made the decision to put a caretaker back in the park. This contract was written without council's approval, maybe well-meaning, but yet it's another reason the auditor is looking into how we operate as a city. These audits cost the city a lot of money and take resources away from city administration. This is considered a private meeting in direct violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. I know that the title city may not feel like a descriptor for Morton. I've been told that we are more like a town, but we are indeed a city, and all contracts regarding public lands, ordinances, laws, and the like absolutely have to get city council's approval. Hard stop. With that said, I plan to make clear to the mayor, police chief, the clerk, and all of you that anyone involved in making decisions for the city have to conduct ourselves lawfully and openly. We can discuss what action we want to take about the current contract regarding the caretaker's position at the Jubilee Park during the next meeting if someone, myself included, wants to make a motion that will clear this up quickly. In order for us to make informed decisions, we will need to have information about the park security needs. All information detailing the exact security maintenance hours the workers must provide in exchange for a calculated metered value of utilities and land use. Ensuring it complies with the state constitution restrictions on gifting public funds. Information on the arrangement under IRS rules for the employer-provided lodging to ensure that the financial value of the housing or free utilities is either properly accounted for as qualified. Convenience of the employer tax exemption or accurately tracked and reported as a fringe benefit on the worker's W-2 forms. All information ensuring the structure is completely legal under the town zoning codes for public and recreational land. Remember the whole RV debacle? And lastly, all information on the original land deeds and historical funding files for the park to ensure the city isn't violating strict non-conversion convenience tied to the state or federal recreation grants, like those from the Washington Recreation and Conservation Office, by placing a private resident on public recreational land. So, my question for you is, when I hired these people in the park, did I need council approval?
I mean, technically, I think so.
When I hired that police officer, did I need council's approval?
So hiring, these people don't live at the police station.
They're tax paid though, right? Taxpayers pay them.
I mean, we could go around and around on this, Mayor, but
No, you brought this
please,
up.
let me finish.
Okay.
This park is actually zoned differently than Jubilee Park.
So that makes a difference in my decision making.
That makes a difference in the way in which you need to go about allowing a caretaker to occupy the space.
So do you remember when Eric Cox was here about the park and all the equipment and everything that was stolen from the park that was donated by the taxpayers and Hampton Lumber? Do you remember that?
I recall being at that meeting.
And at that point, I believe we approved it. And we were also gonna put in some cameras so that we could have better security on seeing stuff that was being stolen because of the lack of police force that we have.
Where's that contract? What meetings was that?
That was,
I don't believe that was the case at all. I don't believe that's.
No, this was conversation.
Well, that
In this room.
conversation doesn't mean we made a motion to get all the way through.
Yes, please.
this isn't new.
Yeah.
We had somebody in there before,
I understand that. Did it come to council?
way back in 2014, yes.
Okay, I asked you for that information and I didn't receive it. So therein lies the problem, is I didn't get the information from you when I said, I'd like to have all the information about
You said
the
about-
zoning and the planning, that has to do with a caretaker's unit in
You asked me for
Jubilee
the
Park.
contract.
I asked for all of the paperwork. I mean, I needed to know whether or not this was, voted on by council. That's all I needed. That's not what you sent me. What you sent me was Mayor Mead, Officer Kinnear, yourself, and, Vanderlip got together and had a little powwow and said, you're going to, allow this to happen.
To rehire caretakers, because we've had them in there before.
Again, I asked you for this information, and I guess there was a communication breakdown, because if that information was available, you would have submitted it to me, correct?
Well, I thought you were asking just for, though that's my misunderstanding. I thought you were asking for a copy of the contract.
That's what I was looking for. See, this clears everything up.
Have we heard from the auditor on this?
Yes, we did. I had a conversation with them today and they were perfectly fine with it.
Perfectly fine with it.
And so.
I wonder how we got under.
Excuse me, I'm not done.
investigation on
Excuse
that.
me,
I didn't ask
I'm
you
not
for this
done.
stuff.
I'm not done. I'm having a conversation here. So,
Well, wait,
going forward, can you please send me,
I'm the chair in this room and you won't tell me what we're gonna do.
I'm gonna finish my conversation. Please send me that email stating that there was a city council approval on that land.
I'll go, okay.
Thank you.
Cole?
This is a letter to the auditor
Yeah.
No.
regarding the parks.
This is not a letter to the.
Well, I find,
How do you know this wasn't a letter to the auditor?
What letter? The letter that I wrote to our counselors?
Or to the auditor?
I just heard auditor. This letter was written to the auditor?
Yes, sir.
A letter was written to the
Okay,
auditor.
why is the police department, to include myself as a representative of the police department, being drugged into something that neither myself nor the police department is not involved in whatsoever? The police department nor myself has no decision-making whatsoever in any way, shape, or form regarding the parks.
This is true.
Whatsoever. I represent the department, and we serve the citizens of Warren.
So.
So, I'm sorry, but I'm a little bothered, if you can't tell, that my name, as the police chief of police, is being drug into a letter to the auditor on something that we have nothing to do with whatsoever.
Never went to the auditor. This is an internal email that is now.
Because the auditors are very expensive. And this is some of the reason why I was saying we want to dot our i's and cross our t's.
May I address the, chief?
Am I speaking? This is one of the reasons I want to cover liability, because it seems like we have a lot of people that want to almost get into the city's ass like we're doing something wrong. And it seems like every meeting we have something different.
had a full-time caretaker that lived in their mobile home, it was supplied with everything. And I know that Richard and a lot of people continue to try and advertise that entire time to find someone. We went without a couple years without finding it, so I don't see any gap between full-time living there and what's going on now. That was always the plan, to have a caretaker there. It had been for many, many, many years. And when we didn't have one, we got vandalized and destroyed.
Maria?
As a neighbor to Jubilee Park, I'm gonna say I love the fact that we have somebody there. Because we don't have homeless people sleeping and doing drugs and leaving their drugs in the park, because I physically found them. It was a problem. We needed it addressed, and if we had to vote for it today, I would say, let's do it again.
May I address,
Yes, sir, please.
Falconer? Police chief, that was not, a letter written to the, auditor.
Regardless of where the letter went to, even if it's internal here within the city government form, the police department has no involvement whatsoever with that decision. And my name specifically is addressed in that letter.
Yeah, and so, what happened is, I got an email from Luann saying that you and Mayor Mead and Richard Vanderlip and the clerk sat down and came up with a decision to have a caretaker there. That's what I got in the email. That is the information that was delivered to me. That's what that just said. So I'm being clear about that, am I right? Like, that's the information that was delivered to me.
Well, I guess the guy's gonna have to do a little bit more homework then, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm really bothered by that.
I'm bothered by it too, that's why I brought it to council. That's why I brought it to council, you know? Like, city council needs to make city decisions, not police officers. And I'm not saying that I don't respect what you do for our city, I absolutely do. But when I saw that from the, in the email, I was like, this doesn't look right.
So, from what I understand from the auditor, is that you wrote that letter
Wrote what letter?
about this park situation that you turned us in.
I
And as
never
you
wrote any
stated
letter.
there-
I never wrote any letter.
As you state in here, it's cost the city a lot of money,
I never wrote any letter to the auditor. I did not write a letter to the auditor.
so they're lying.
I guess that's the case. I never wrote a letter to the auditor.
Did you call them? Did you call them?
I've been talking to him, yeah. About this?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I mean, there's been questions
So.
about the
as we
park,
see-
and I said, I don't know, this is what I know.
As we see that, we get a lot of this. We get where we tie up our attorney, who we pay a lot of money for. We pay for audits. This is the second audit in a time. And we're just tying them up even more because certain people like to call or write letters because they all think that we're crooked. When I became the mayor, I have no reason to be crooked on anything because there is nothing for me to gain. My job is to make your guys' life easier. And this room is becoming like Jerry Springer's show. And I myself, I don't know the people in the audience, very much tired of it. So with that being said, I am very sorry that we have people that don't look out for us in the city, that they have alternative motives to go other ways with things. It's very, very upsetting.
Especially when there's misinformation.
Especially when somebody tries to sidestep this. I didn't write a letter, but I made a phone call. You like to deceive us. It's really
Point
starting
of
to get
order, you're making an accusation to a city council member. Point of order.
What would you like? You try to run everything else, what would you like?
Point of order. You again are speaking out of turn.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. One quick thing. We see this in other things too. We received an email, which I won't disclose what was in this email, but people are causing the city to spend money and spin our wheels, and the city clerk to spin her wheels by sending emails, not just to council, but to our attorney, and then our attorneys having to respond to these people over and over silly things that just happened. An email that should not have even had to go to our attorney first. So it is, there are people that are doing this and costing this city money for no reason. So.
It's like misuse of city funds.
I think when it comes down to it, since we're on the topic, so this was entirely a communication breakdown. I asked for something and I did not get it, and therefore I brought it to everyone's attention. And I was hoping this could be handled discreetly, but it didn't, and that's where it's at.
Number 5.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to number 5, old business. Ordinance 2020-01 regarding chicken cost and restrictions.
No one.
He's not here, so.
I'd like to make
Meet with anything?
I'd like to make a motion, we leave it exactly like it is.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
So at the end of this, number 6 is,
Hold on. Did you say nay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanna get it right.
that's fine. Yeah, I feel like the guy who brought it up should,
It's not here.
I hear you.
We have
Yeah,
four.
no, I hear you.
so now we will go to public participation for 3 minutes. Would anybody like to speak? Please.
My name is Amanda West, I live in Morton, and every time I come, I say, I'm not gonna talk tonight, I'm just gonna listen, and then I talk, so I apologize. I cannot help myself. I certainly respect, having been a council member, that audits are expensive, they can be embarrassing, we don't want to spend money and time addressing situations that can be handled by face-to-face conversations or routine business at the city. But I do not want the message that the city sends to be that the people of Morton don't have a right or should feel discouraged from seeking answers to questions that they have. And I'm not saying that there has been, well, I will say this, in the past, the recent past, there has not been a degree of, there hasn't been a welcoming attitude at City Hall about wanting to address questions that people in the city have. I don't know what email you're referring to, I don't need to know, it's just not something that, if we're not all gonna know, then I don't need to know, but I wanna make it very clear that having a question about whether, and the way that I listened to that letter was not that Councilman Sawyer was in opposition to the decision itself, but in opposition to the way the decision was made. And I think that feels very like in the weeds, but disagreeing with the process is not the same thing as disagreeing with the outcome, and disagreeing with the process doesn't need to be something that puts everybody on the defensive. And I think being willing to hear questions from the people is something that the city hasn't always been very good at. And if the council wants the people to feel supported by it, the council needs to be willing to answer hard questions. And I'm not saying you're not, I felt things get very escalated just now, and I think it's fair to say you inherited a seat that didn't always feel it wasn't a welcoming space for a lot of people in town to have their voices heard. And so, rightly or wrongly, you're maybe the beneficiary of some of that skepticism about the power structure in Morton. And I don't think that's an attack against you. I think it's just something that, as a public official, is maybe the consequence of what has happened over the last several years. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? No.
It was him. Exactly.
Chair.
Well, the topic that I was going to talk to the city council about, I'm happy to table until next meeting. What I just heard from Councilman Sawyer is that he was asking for information about accountability and process, and it was not provided. What I heard from Luann in her response and from Mayor Mead was defensiveness and disrespect. Rather than providing the information that was requested, what I heard is that we did something 12 years ago. Therefore, we don't have to revisit it, we don't have to vote on it, we don't have to discuss it. Since I have been coming to council meetings, since I moved to Morton, I haven't been to a meeting where Councilman Sawyer has not been treated with animosity, and this cannot continue. He is here, just like every single one of you, to represent our community. And that is what he is doing. And if you can't treat each other like a team, how do you expect us to?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
The lady in the black shirt, she had her hand up. Yeah.
If I have a question, do I have to answer?
Yes.
I just had a question more about,
Say who you are and where you're from.
I'm Brecken, legally Warvis, but now Dyer, and, I'm from Morton. And I just had a few questions about the skate park, cause, as someone who really works with the kids in the community and, just knows a little too much about state and federal land, I think it's really cool about the skate park. I just had a little bit of concern with possibly putting the city on it without insurance, cause I don't know with it, even if the city doesn't get on that grant, it is on city property, and I worry about just with kids and adults being kids, even if it's a safe park, life happens and insurance, and people love to sue, especially when it has government in the name, and so I just worry that it will fall on us, not so wealthy taxpayers, and so I just, also want the council to kind of think about that when they're putting, their name potentially on an awesome application. I think it's great. I just think we need to think of insurance, whether that be through the nonprofit or, if it's gonna be through the city. And I know maintenance, you said there's no maintenance, but as we can tell, climate change is crazy, and we had 2 atmospheric rivers that could easily fill up that thing. Where's that, water gonna go, or graffiti, because different things, and, also, I know you said you might volunteer each week, which is awesome, but again, life happens. What if you get taken away, like move somewhere, and then who's gonna be left with it? Just cause that's what happens to our parks here, is people move, people get older, and then they're not maintained. And then we have awesome volunteers that kinda can pick it up, but, maybe also something that we can look in for the skate park, or the caretaker of the park, to maybe incorporate that in their job, or pay them a little bit more to do that, but just kind of things that life happens, and I just think we need to think of safety, for everybody, but also assume the worst and we wanna pay the less in the long term. So that was kind of my question about, insurance on it, is that gonna be on us taxpayers, or like through the city, cause it is city land, and we all know that if it's on city land and someone breaks an ankle, they're gonna sue the city, as someone who knows too much about lands. But just that was my question about that stuff.
I had looked up insurance, and it is a skate at your own risk.
Okay.
So there is people who use the public park at a skate at your own risk, as long as it's posted.
Gotcha.
Cannot sue.
We love signage, even though no one reads it, I love it.
Thank you. No, that's
Thank
good
you.
points.
Sarah Chestnut for coordinating. Along that topic, for clarity, is there, anything in our code that says we have to have meetings in person? And so if there is going to be a special meeting about the skate park, can it be over Zoom or remote, or is there a requirement for an in-person meeting?
Open meeting.
Right, but lots of city councils have online meetings to make them more accessible.
That's a really good question.
Zoom is free for up to 40 minutes. If there was ever like a abrupt online post to join a Zoom meeting, and you can have up to 50 members, I think, or 50 people for free. It's a pretty decent number, but it's a number.
We're gonna get it figured out.
Okay, I emailed her, I can try to give her a call too.
Yeah.
But I did email just in our thread to everybody,
Okay.
the manager's name, phone number, and
Perfect.
email.
Okay. I'll get right on it tomorrow. So, yeah.
Anybody else? So with that, council to set special meeting date and time, executive session, evaluate, we're gonna go into an executive session, and we will be back in 10 minutes.
Well, if not, somebody will come out and say, you have to give them some time, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, we will be back at 8:33.
That, concrete slab, that little sector. Oh, interesting, okay. You know who I would?
No, I got my water. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's more, and that's okay. Don't look like that,
Is your daughter going to school tomorrow? I have something for her. Okay, that's all. So I was told that she likes spiders, and I was at a craft store, and I guess it's a skier, it's a spider, but there's a spider. So I wanted to give it birch. She'll love that. That was all, some fun. Oh, yeah. I don't know, I ran out, but. Yeah, exactly. I guess I was watching some
That was about some Yeah, so Denise is on part of it, and then I were the big time. So we will have woodlands, roller skates, skateboards. Thank you. And then lots of
I wouldn't go. Can I volunteer? The road.
I got
But no, when I asked her about that, like, so, John, hello, you could look up on the school website, find his, you know, whatever, if you are. I was curious, because I was trying to.
I mean, and worst case scenario is buying a small parcel and just building a skate park on top of it. Figure it out. That's my opinion.
No, that's all, because my son's a skater, so it's like.
Tell them I will be taking requests for inventory if they ever like sending specific brands.
So it would be that.
We have
And they don't have it marked up, but that's the part they want to sell, because that's the driveway.
Yeah.
Or could it be this?
Yeah, it would be, well, because that's the school building right there, so it'd be like a small parcel
So I
of
think
that.
that they're like, so you're wanting this court,
Actually
correct?
started. That concrete slab, I mean, it's only, I think, 5,000, 3,000. I don't know how much space that is. Yeah. Yeah, well, even though it's downhill, yeah, you have to like build up to it a little bit, but if we're digging out anything from the concrete side, you can usually build up using that material.
And then he has to have work to.
I mean, I would, honest, I'm a project manager by trade, so, and marketing person, but a little bit of everything. So like, I love coming up with solutions to things, so like, if I have a challenge or something, I'll just figure out like, how do you make this happen? Oh, high school?
Is he gonna work out there for?
My brother Kevin,
He might continue to work.
I was about 10, but my grandma yeah, I've spent every Christmas here, my brother graduated here, but I was like 10, but then I lived here like on and off for about 8 years. So, yeah, I finally got a tiny house to live in. And for a while I was turning a school bus to a tiny house and then traveling until they get back, and then I got a tiny house.
About 10 years younger than you.
And I'm next to my parents, they're in their mid-70s.
I mean, I would assume he was in his 50s, so he's well into his 60s.
So I love my dad's property. His dream was to have like something like that. And I was like, oh man, me too. And so like that's what the property is. And so yeah. I mean, at some point he can't stop me from turning that property into a skate park. So that is my like plan C or whatever. But yeah,
Get me trained up.
But isn't that part of the road plan? Are they gonna fix the roads?
Pick up
Is that the worst question ever?
That's evil, I've never heard that before.
You don't think my dog did I mention it just now?
You know, kids is
So you literally have
in the
just your section.
She's a guard dog.
Cannon just kind of, she's afraid her dog. And he left him to lick him. I can't do it. I love dogs. Oh, I'd snuggle with them, but they ain't licking. I'd snuggle with them.
Are you still doing the park?
For some reason, every time I say yoga, cats try to climb on me and then dogs
Executive session and then you don't come back and
it was only about a 10-minute back there.
Sarah, I love that we like, it's our exact opposite, still the race, but like our I did the green with the orange. I was reading this shirt, it was where, well, we were like, super. All the way back to the corporate. I was supposed to start getting their screen print at the high school, so we can get benchmarks. We should. You know, that's I said it like that so I could tell people.
That was the chaos.
Are they gonna do a little more?
I think they'll just come back and end it. I don't think they'll tell us what they talked about, so.
I think you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, most of the time it's
Yeah, that's probably. I hope that someday there is.
You should hear my
I
mom.
know I get down every time I say that.
And I was like, Mom, isn't that what you're doing? I'm trying to get restraining orders for your boyfriend. And she's like, she doesn't deserve that.
Everybody's like, who looks like, cause it's funny.
I have this thing with Virgin River. I don't know if you guys have that. I do too. I watch the seventh season.
Oh my God, I
And
didn't
they
think past the third.
came to us and told us
See how they
going in this maze where they had their first kiss years ago. Oh my God, they
But
were.
then, every time I brought that up,
Oh, this is awesome. It was funny. I was so surprised at that show that they did that.
Yeah,
It was funny.
It's like a very like cheesy romantic drama.
Oh, yeah, it's relaxing. But Humboldt County, it's supposed to be filmed there, but I think it's filmed in British Columbia.
Yeah, it's always cheaper. It's got more cost. It's very like
Small town, but
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be just a few more minutes. They asked me to come out and let you know, okay?
this is a
Thank you.
whole series. Robin Carr, I think is the author of the books, so you can actually read all the books. Now, I'm sure they've embellished stuff for it, because they have 7 seasons.
But the book is forgotten.
I gotta watch this. Oh, yeah, you should really check, because I'm not seeing him, he's too big.
I feel like she really has brought that.
They did a really good job with it. Just really like, there's just no way you can't love them. It's just such a lumberjack pot owners. So beautiful.
Nice.
So smooth.
Most of the decisions.
I don't normally get into that, because I'm not into that soap opera stuff.
The PI,
This is,
it has the opportunity to go after
Sometimes they're not true, it's just like.
yeah, it's more real.
What are you doing, right?
But she's.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, actually.
Oh, no, you're sitting on that one, I know you're
Oh,
right.
yeah, I just saw her move into the cabin.
Oh.
No, I saw the cabin burn down.
To put out, and
It didn't.
recoup the money and.
I can't, that was a long.
And even if you
No,
don't
they
understand
redid it.
that process,
It's got really.
Yeah,
But the money, they got here
No, I have, this is the first time I'm without kids and everybody, and I love it.
Oh, it's great.
I could have all my kids back.
Yeah.
Oh, I can, yes, I don't have to cook.
Yeah. My mom still stresses about that. I gotta plan meals, I was like, you always want something planned.
And that's hard, it's difficult, because especially if you have it, your family. And I had 3 boys that were like 6'5".
Every time
So, when I was they're like 50, they're all.
Like that's You're just trying to get in and go family, and she wants to be with you.
Oh, okay. So my and the one is the one that's senior.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so he, well, I was talking about getting one, cause see, he knows the. And what did you do? And what was the bill?
Yeah, that was just this contract after made, they have to make them
That's where they live. So they live right there. Cause they were still.
That's Lincoln City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
the city. State's
Only win bar trivia has to do with
The
skating.
roundabout? Oh, this? Yeah. They have to do this every year, but it's a 6-year thing.
We were talking about doing something for the parade.
Yeah.
You've got, at the bazaar, I do the kids' court.
Although I think
Who?
And always old,
Oh,
it's all
Yeah. It's on the list.
I talked with them, I was
With the
thinking.
paving that back lot. No, I'm gonna keep him away from it. They don't want to. The only thing you can do in operation is.
Well, it's so hard, I have to build a big ramp for this float, and then after the float's over, I gotta put it in the shop. You're putting all these great
Minor operations.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're still a couple more minutes away, so they just told me to come out and let you know, because they're keeping track of time in there.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just a messenger, don't beat me up.
Tell the lake, Cole. Tell mom Liz.
Let me put it, see, I can be real blunt. I love it. They're working on it.
What do you think, Dumpster?
They're working on it.
Tracy's telling me that he's helping.
We have it, they do.
He's been so happy to
See, and
not what good potentially.
and I can see it. I can see it
Yeah.
because I'm not from.
No.
So I can see.
Last one I had was safety why they're doing this.
No, we're really.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel, there's lots of small towns that do this. We can too, you know?
Change the.
Cut down. Now, in New York,
To stay.
big shoes.
An allowable expense.
So last
Sure, you
year,
did. You did input. You had some input on that.
So any, they don't use sewer system.
I know my input went over.
I seen the look you got, I was a little bit nervous when I had that that ball rolling, and the analogy I'm using is someone trying to do this. Well, this is what it's gonna be. Finish the land acquisition, and essentially, someone who's gonna be involved in
It's probably like mine.
Yeah. They're like you.
There's like one little house over there. Yeah, that's not what I saw in the drawings.
Yeah, it really has. That is definitely on everyone's minds.
Yeah, there's a couple ladies here tonight that are working on that. Yeah, I know, like, we're looking at Lakewood and they're looking for affordable housing. And pieces of that is, okay, we made the housing affordable or making section affordable. How are those people going to have a job? I mean, minimum wage jobs is a livable wage. There's no way that we can. Yeah,
Yeah, so if you have like a VHS. I would love to rent a VCR.
That's right, there's no library, so you're like, you need a hedge clipper, you can check out the day.
Yeah. And you pay dollars. The only 72 hours, and then they would like charge you $2 or something like that. Because you're signed up for your library.
They just listed it for $8.
Sarah's working.
Girls coming out of this program and then come up you. I know that. That sounds like
Almost
fun.
I'm just the door guy.
I just saw a new one listed, so just as you go past the rest stop on that same side of town, it's, he's got a little brownish house, like really old. I didn't realize it was even a house there, they just listed it for $2 million.
Oh, that must be, you're talking about right there at the fence where they were doing the, that was Ty Birdwell. Is that who you're talking about?
I think so.
Ty passed away from.
But nobody comes in here.
It's too far away.
Nobody comes in here.
Yeah, the bulletin boards that people look at are like post office, coffee shop. Yeah.
I know Ty was always trying to sell stuff on the, so it sounds like different. Depends on what the
I'll see her tomorrow.
It's like right
Oh,
now.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
She does
when you first bought it, it was all exciting. You just sell off that new school.
See, that's another thing they do.
They passed it many times, and people like you to have a boat.
They really do things.
That's $1 million.
I think, what's his name, brings to me about his value, I would say, as well.
And you get all,
We grew up in this weird generation where we can't drink.
Yeah, we drink a lot of water.
but then you get all
If you're definitely gonna need to. I know, I'm very empathetic, I will always yawn.
The insurance, of course, there's no liability. So, and you do need to post it, so, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was sitting there, I had to. Because.
I can hire you as like a PR.
You need my son, he's real good. But he's an artist. Mom, when do they art? It's kind of hard for me to skate or something, because it's here. And I said, that's okay, you can come over here.
It's the Oregon Council, or not Facebook, YouTube. So there's whoever follows the channel. That was a bit more in
No,
on
I
the website under
my own
agenda, it is, pages, and it is buried.
That's
And if you want to go there, and you can just
Oh, no, but he came out here with
the agenda was 28 pages,
from,
and
we were back in Ohio. They bought the.
it's like this big and like single line, teeny tiny writing, like you're gonna have to like sign scroll it.
So he got his master's. Yeah, I think he's
I just wish they would
You better.
in more detail, more in-depth explanation. But I mean, if they're just throwing names out there of a wish list and they're not actually planning anything, then
Yeah,
Well, it's supposed to be the plan.
no, I never
Supposed to
did,
be,
and I was in the
they use
sixties,
their
Kent State,
TIU money to
Kent State,
implement.
real radical. And so I was there.
Everybody's
before
required.
in the 60s, and I didn't have a chance to take
Someone has to read it.
and I was the designated
I was like the youngest one, and I was like older skater, I was just driving this skate park, I was the driver, and I was just.
Always the last one.
Oh, that's funny.
I've been trying to,
So they knew about that. So I would get right, because he'd come out with jeans, I'd stay right here. So you can get into a lot of things. I would never say that. Yeah. But you can, yeah, we got into
Everything's
But
good.
I was at, one kid that went was and he, see, this is the story you need to tell, because he did nothing. He was so always depressed, cause he was like 15, 16, real good looking kid. And his dad came and asked me once, he said, could he go with us? And I said, sure. Well, of course, then I got all nervous, cause he had to have the shots and all that stuff, and, you know, I didn't know about that, but I learned quick.
So these
But the
councilmen,
kids
they
are
can't go,
and see, this was,
like,
they
they can't go to
formed
a
this
restaurant and
bond,
sit together.
and that is one of the best things that could ever happen. He blossomed
And so he went up to Canada and never had a problem with the diabetes thing. I mean, he had to eat certain ways and stuff like that. But yeah, see, stuff like that, that's what it's good for. That is, you know, cause the kids really, those kids, like you said you were around, they form a bond with each other, cause it's a special sport. It's not lunch or food. You know, it's just
It is supportive and not competitive,
And that's what she was talking about, the lessons.
Yeah.
They teach each other.
Yeah, that's for
You know, you don't really need, it's not a formal kind of, it can be, but I've never seen formal instruction.
Yeah, I swear, every time we go to a park, like, I just sit next to it and swear he's doing his thing, and then I'll see him, like, next to a little kid, and he's like, okay, so, like, I show him how to do, and he's just like, all right, man, and pew, it's like, off he
And
goes.
kids that are really, that will not socialize in school.
Technically, I could.
Yeah.
That's what.
Because they asked me to perform tonight. So I can't do it again.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
look at it,
things.
and 2 hours overtime. And I really gained anything.
Right.
I'm just trying to take it all off.
What? That's what makes it nice is to have your gold and all that beautiful printed. See, I like that.
I know, I was like, thanks, kids, but I can't hear what
And
you're
the
saying.
kids cleaning.
That'd be a great more active.
We always, the kids did that. I was thinking about that when she was talking. The kids just, of course, I was there, you know, you can't leave it. I did the old Girl Scout thing, you leave it better than it's finding it, you know. But the kids took, the kids took care of it.
Yeah, that's
And
what
then
I've seen
you
in all state
always,
parks too.
you always get that kid that's going to do it. You know, that's the mom.
It's amazing.
He could have shown to pleaded guilty. I talked to the
Yeah.
even after I told her. Take this, and I would have just told her, which I understand the girls feel like everybody else ever heard, so like, hey, we're gonna take this from you. The same city might kill me.
We are now out of our executive meeting. No decisions were made. Now we're gonna go to council to set special meeting date and time.
Make a motion to vote on censorship until next council meeting, next week.
Citizenship? Table it until next month?
Table it,
I think we're making a,
table it until next month.
we're setting a special meeting.
I thought you were gonna just go ahead and do it at the next council.
Yeah.
Motion to strike the special meeting.
Okay, I make a motion to strike the special meeting.
Not tomorrow's special meeting.
Yeah.
And put it on the next agenda.
Next month's council.
Who seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Who said it?
Peter.
So at this point, I adjourn the meeting.
They're like, we didn't know
Make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, who made the motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded it?
All right.
Yeah, so you want to get those two in?
Is this Terrace? Terrace?
Brooke, I like your points. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Terrace?